Hello, this is Sandy. Welcome to video tutorial number 3 for the Nostalgia Pop-Up Christmas album I designed for Country Craft Creations using Authentique's Nostalgia paper collection. So I ended the last video. We're still working on page set number 1. We patterned the inside of the flaps, the front of the flap. We added the Santa in the chimney and the reindeer on the roof pop-up. We patterned the back side, and so now we're ready to pattern the inside. So I'm opening it up. Just make sure that you open it and have it facing the correct direction, especially if you're using directional paper. So you want to make sure that nothing's upside down. And so look through your papers and choose 2 that you want for this inside section. So I'm going to use this real pretty plaid, and I'm attaching it down with the art glitter glue that you can order from countrycraftcreations.com. It does come with a little metal tip if you order the 2 ounce and the 4 ounce sizes. So this helps control the amount of glue that goes down so that you're not putting down so much glue that it wrinkles your paper. So I'm going to go ahead and attach these 2. Make sure that you burnish them with a bone folder or a spatula to make sure that you've got them down really nice and flat and smooth, and wipe away any excess glue. So I'm attaching the second one now, and then after that we will go ahead and start at our pocket and finish decorating page set number 1 in this tutorial. Okay, so page set number 1 is completely patterned. I'm going to show you here. This is the front, and then you lift up, and there's your pop-up inside, and close it back down. Open it, turn it over, and you have the back side here, but then this has a flap that is patterned on the inside. So now we're ready to add the pocket, and I think I'm going to put it right here on the back side, and I will probably do it the same. I'm just looking, yes, right here on the back side, and we'll do the same on all of our page sets. So you've already pre-made your pocket, and it should fit just right here on the bottom. So take your glue and apply glue to each 1/2 inch flap on the back side of the pocket. Now what I'm going to do to pattern my pockets, I'm going to look at some of my scraps. By now you should have a few scraps that you can use from when you cut your page pattern papers, and I'm going to piece them together. So I want a little different look, so I'm going to put a wider strip of paper on the bottom and then a little narrow scrap. So you will need to measure yours. Remember, it is 5 7/8 inches wide from side to side. And make sure you burnish this pocket down good where you've attached it, so you want it to stick down really good. And then I use a strip of paper that's at the top. So you trim the height of your papers, your scraps of paper, to get the look that you want. I want a little bit black showing, I think, between them, so I'm going to add just a little strip at the top and then a wider strip at the bottom. The pocket's not very wide, so you can utilize several different little scraps of paper that you might have. So grab mine. I have this one with the Christmas tree that was left over. I think that will look good. That was left over from patterning the back of the pop-up and the Santa image. So I'm going to cut this down. So I'm not actually giving you the measurements for this patterning of the pocket because yours will vary depending on your scraps, but the constant measurement is 5 7/8 from side to side. So that's how wide they are. Your height will depend if you're going to pattern it with a solid piece or if you're going to add in a scrap there on the side. So I'm gluing mine in. And now I just need to find a narrow strip for my top there edge. Or if you like it black, you could leave it black, but I have this little bitty one with some of the red and the green check. I'm going to use the red so that it's not the same as the top, and I'm just going to glue that in with just a tiny bit of black between the 2 pieces. So this one already had it cut, and I am quickly inking the edges of my papers before I glue them down. as I said, you will put your pocket on the back side of all of your page sets and then pattern them all the same way. So I may not always show you in detail how to pattern these, but it's really simple. Once you attach your pocket, then you just go ahead and pattern the pocket side. Okay, so now we're ready to decorate the page set 1, and I'm going to try to show you this fairly quickly without taking up a lot of video time, because I know you'll want to decorate it personally the way you like it, but I will slow down videos to show you and give you instruction on anything that is different, like different little pop-up elements that you will want to add to yours, and show you how to do those. Right now I'm just adding a craft mat to a black mat, and I'm going to glue this down inside the flap area where the pop-up is. So you want to make sure that this is a pop-up book, but that if you're wanting it for photos, that you do want to add places for photos like this photo mat. And again, like I said, yours will be different based on the size of your photos and what you want in yours. I did use the same size photo mat throughout my album, and the size is black cardstock 4x5, and the craft is 3 3/4 by 4 3/4 if you want to use that. I also like to utilize my scraps, like here where I'm putting the little plaid strip down. And then, like I said earlier, I did not receive stickers for this collection in my designer kit, so I am utilizing all the cutouts of the 12x12 paper where I can cut out and add different elements. Now I matted this little angel with the fawn and the Merry Christmas onto black cardstock. I am not patterning it on the back. This is going to be like a pocket laying on the top flap, so I am just applying a little bit of glue to the right and the left on the back side, and then just a tiny line along the very bottom, and I'm going to glue that down flush with the pop-up element there on the top inside of the top flap. So just hold that down. So this makes a little tuck spot for a tag. Now you'll notice that I will be using frames, photo frames in this project. I did punch those out with my die cut machine using a different rectangle, stitched rectangle dies, and also my tags I punched out with my die cut machine. I have a die for tags, but this one was a little bit too long, so I trimmed it down and rounded the corners. So you just select different things that you want to put in behind your, if you use the same angel. You could put smaller photo mats. Just go ahead and create to make it personally your own. For the inside of the flap section with the pop-up, I'm going to add a set of magnets because I've decided that it does need to close. Now, the correct way would have been to attach these underneath the pattern paper, but since I have the thickness of the photo mat and the angel pocket, I'm going to go ahead and attach these to the finished part of the page, and then I'm going to hide this one on the bottom with the snowman that I fussy cut out, and then I will also add the one at the top as I add it. So once you attach your one to the bottom, pull the paper backing off and then close your little flap down so that it catches behind the at the top, just slightly behind the angel. I have the magnets on, so now I'm ready to cover them up. So I'm going to cover this bottom one with this snowman that I fussy cut out. I'm going to put some glue on the magnet to make sure that it sticks down good, and then I'm just going to apply glue to the bottom of this snowman piece because I don't want it attached down over the photo mat. You want to be able to still slide your photo in. So I'm going to attach it down just right here along the bottom. So the magnet is covered, and then it still closes down, and now we need to cover the top magnet. To cover the magnet at the top behind the angel, I have a scrap of the plaid paper that measures about 7/8 of an inch wide, and I trimmed it down are rather tall, and then I trimmed the width down to 5 7/8 inches to fit on the pattern paper here at the top. I'm adding some glue to the magnet, and then I'm just going to attach this down at the very top over the magnet. Now you need to burnish really well onto the magnet, and make sure you press down really well there at the top where the magnet is, so that there's not a gap that will show the magnet when you look down from the top. So I'm just pressing that really well with my fingers. You don't want to tear the paper, so you want to be extra careful with that. And so there it is, hidden behind the angel, the magnet. Now I'm going to add a piece of this black and white check ribbon that you can order from countrycraftcreations.com. And I have added score tape across the top, and I'm just sticking the ribbon down on that behind the angel, and then I allowed enough on each end to bring it around to the front of the flap, and I'm going to tie it in a bow. So I'm bringing this around, and I do have score tape on the other side, so I'm going to pull the backing off, and I'm going to tie it to the left side a little bit. So I'm just going to stick this ribbon down and then tie it into a bow. This ribbon, even though it's black and white, really works well with this paper collection because of the black in the pattern papers. So go ahead and tie that in a bow, and then we'll add a little bit more decorating. Next, I'm adding one of the frames that I die cut out of a rectangle stitch die, and I'm going to leave it open at the top, so I'm just adding glue on the left and right side on the back side. So any kind of frame that you have, any die punch that you want to cut out would work just fine. Next, I have one of the cut-aparts of Santa in his sleigh with the reindeer that I matted to red cardstock. This is the Barn Red Artisan cardstock that you can order from countrycraftcreations.com, and I'm just adding glue to the top and bottom and the left edge. I want to leave it free where it goes over the frame so that a photo can still be slid under there. So I'm just going to add that right here so you see that you can stick something in, or the photo. I love this image of the Santa and the sleigh and the reindeer going over the rooftops. It's so cute. Okay, so I didn't finish my tag earlier, so I've cut a rectangle scrap to fit your tag. Yours may be a different size. You can decorate it any way that you want. I'm just going to add this rectangle of the plaid paper to match, and then I'm going to tie a bit of the black and white ribbon through the hole. I'm just going to loop it, put it through the front of the hole, and then bring the tails through the loop, and then pull it tight. And then I will trim the ends off because I don't want it. And just so that it doesn't slide out, I'm going to go ahead and tie an extra knot just to be on the safe side. Because sometimes certain ribbons will pull loose if they're not tied into a knot. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this and then slip this back in behind the angel. Okay, back on the front side where we've tied the bow, I went ahead and tied another bow out of red button string that I have in my stash, and I'm adding a bit of the art glitter glue right to the center of the black and white check bow, and I'm going to attach this bow down right over that. Sometimes I like to layer different bows and ribbons together, so this kind of brings out the red that's in the mat behind Santa and his sleigh. And then I found this little button that I had in my stash, a little green Christmas button. It's the shape of a flower, so I'm going to glue that right to the center, and it does take a minute for the glue to grab, so you can hold it with your fingers, or if you have a clip that you can put on there. So I did add a clip to hold it, and while it's drying I cut out a little tag from that tag 12 by 12 sheet. It says Merry Christmas to and from, and I'm just going to add that right at the top. So that finishes that page off, the front of this page set 1. and I'm pretty sure the inside is done with the flap, so now we need to work on the others. So we're going to create another several pop-up mechanisms that we're going to need. These are box mechanisms. They're made exactly the same as the one that we did before for the larger one, and from cardstock you're going to cut at least 4. You might want 6 or 8 if you want to go ahead and make several. These are 4.5 by 2 inches, and you're going to score your 4.5 inch side at a half, 2 inch, 2.5, 4 inches, and then glue the two 1/2 inch flaps together to form the box. This is the exact same way that we created the rectangle one earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and show you creating these. So you make several of these to use for smaller pop-ups, and then you can also cut them down to size whenever you need them. So these are something you want to make, and just put them in a little box or a basket beside your craft table so that you'll have them when you're ready to use them. So here I am cutting down the pieces to the 4.5 inch by 2 inch width. So I didn't have mine cut to 4.5, so I'll cut it to 4.5. You can make these different lengths if you want. I'm just going to go with the 4.5 because I'm not real sure right now what size pop-ups I'm going to be using, and I know that I can cut them down even after they're assembled to the size that you will need. So go ahead and cut several of these. Like I said, at least 4, possibly 6 to 8, depending on how much more of the little smaller elements we add of pop-ups inside the book. So we're working on page set right now, so we still have page set 2, 3, and 4 to go, so we might need several of these. So once you have them cut, take your scoreboard and go ahead and score each one the same. You're going to score your 4.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch, 2 inch, 2.5, and 4. Do that on all of them, and then you're going to fold your score lines and burnish really well. And then you will glue the two 1/2 inch sections together to form your little box. Just like that. Put the glue right there and glue them together. So I just flatten it, then fold the 1/2 inch over to the other 1/2 inch. Make sure they're stuck good, and burnish. So go ahead and do this on all the ones that you cut, however many you cut, and set them aside. Open page set up to where you see the plaid sections. This is the inside section of the page, and I have cut down into half one of those elements that we just made, the mechanisms. So I'm double checking to make sure that I have this turned the correct way. So there's the pop-up. So I'll do this several times throughout the project because I don't want anything on upside down. So I've turned this over. Here's my pocket. Open it up. So this is the correct direction for this pop-up mechanism that I'm going to create. So I'm going to take one of these little boxes that I made, and we're going to need to add pattern paper, this little scraps. So just cut it to fit. No particular measurement on this. I just lay it on there and trim it off. You're going to glue one narrow one down. So we need that. And I need 2 of those. So I just lay the first one down on the second one and cut that with my scissors. Okay, so we're going to pattern one of these ends, just like that, and then we're going to turn and pattern the other end. These are the ends that will be exposed that you will be able to see even once you touch it into the page and you attach your cut apart. So what I have done is I cut out this Santa that's checking the list, and I matted him to black cardstock and fussy cut both around, leaving a slight black margin around this. This gives it extra strength, so it's black on the back side. You don't have to worry about adding any patterned paper because this is more like a flat pop-up. So you're going to put glue on one of the larger sections, place your Santa on that and glue it down, burnish really well. So see, it will stand up like that, and then it will fold down. So our pattern sides are on the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to glue him, and make sure you don't go over the fold, and you want to make sure that when he's flat he doesn't extend beyond the page of your album. So add glue to the back side, and with him pressed down flat, attach him into your book, onto your page. Burnish. So when the page, this section closes up, he'll be flattened down, and when you open your book up, you can pull him up for this dimensional look, just like this. There you go. He's popped up. So fold him down, and I think, let me see, let me check. I think mine is just a little bit too close, so make sure you give at least a good, probably a ½ inch on the side. My glue hadn't finished drying, and it's going to cover that up. So I'm going to add some more glue. See, it's me that's doing the testing so that you don't do the same mistake. So I'm going to add the glue, and then I'm going to just scoot him over so that when he folds down, the edge, the right edge of him doesn't go. So you want at least, I would say, a ½ inch from the edge. So that's much better. Okay. So let's add some decorating here on the inside with Santa as well. And you do want to make sure you burnish him down really good to make sure he sticks. Okay, so we're ready for the next step. To create the Dear Santa pocket to go inside the page set number 1, you go ahead and cut out the cut apart that says Dear Santa, and then I folded it so that I could create a pocket. So right now I'm just putting glue on all of it because I folded it to see how it would work, and now I am gluing it down onto a piece of cardstock that I cut larger. So I'm going to mat that down. And burnish it. So then I'm going to take my scissors and trim the bottom and the left side. I mean the right side, sorry. So a lot of times I will use my large scissors so I can get a straight cut. To me, it's just as easy to use a scissor as it is to use the trimmer. You can certainly use the trimmer if you're more comfortable with that. So I'm just trimming a margin on the right side and then across the bottom. You just straighten it up just a tad there. Okay, so where I had already pre-folded this, from the top I have from the bottom where it says love, I have a fold that's about 2 inches. Lay it on your page to make sure that it fits, and then take some glue, and I just put a line of glue on each side under the red with the under the fold. You can add glue all the way across if you want. This is just shortening it up where I need it for the page, and then place a line of glue on the right and left side just up to the fold line to create the pocket. Burnish that down really well. And then we're going to go ahead and glue it in on the page. So I'm going to see how the pocket works, and I'm going to turn it at a slight angle, and that's where I'm going to glue that into the page. I've punched out with a die a real small tag, and I'm rounding the bottom corners, and then I'm going to put a rectangle of paper on this the same way as I did the last tag, and insert that into the pocket where it says love. Dear Santa, love. So it goes right there. And I will also add some button twine as a tie on it. On the left side with Santa, I glued down another one of the punched out frames, and remember to only glue on 3 edges, 3 sides on the back. Leave one side open, whichever one you want to leave open. So I glue that there, and then on the right side I added a to and from tag over by the Love Santa pocket, and that will finish the inside of this page set 1, and we need to work on the pocket next. We've already patterned the pocket. We just need to add some elements. On the bottom I have cut out one of the gift tags and rounded just 2 opposite corners, and I'm adding glue, and I'm going to glue this to the front of the little pocket down at the bottom. And I have a cut apart that I've matted on black cardstock that I've tucked inside, and I will probably make a photo mat, a matted photo mat to go on the inside. And then I'm going to make a little booklet, and I'll show you how to make the booklet. I make one for all 4 of the pockets for this project, but I'm just going to show you how to make one, and you will decorate the way you want to. So to create the booklet, you take a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, and we're going to cut that at, looking for my notes what I did, cut that at 5 inches. So you want it 5 inches tall. Then you're going to get your scoreboard, and on your 12-inch side you're going to score at 3 inches, 6 inches, and 9 inches. Then you simply just fold it up. You can burnish it as well, but fold up all the score lines, kind of an accordion type fold, to make a little booklet. And I will just pattern the front side, and I am again going to use like scraps of paper to pattern this. You can do it, you know, top and bottom, side to side, just different scraps that you might have. So I'm burnishing really well to make sure it folds up good. And see how it fits inside. Now I'm going to go ahead and round 2 of the corners, or I think I'll go ahead and round all 4 corners of this booklet. You can round them or you can leave them square, whichever you prefer. So now when it opens up like this, you're ready to go ahead and add a tie closure and some pattern paper to the front. So I'm looking for my scraps. I found this one, and so I'm not giving the measurements for the pattern paper because it's going to depend on your scraps and which orientation you're going to put them on. So I am just measuring to see where I need to cut. Since it's 5 inches, I'm going to make it 4 7/8 inches tall on mine. And make sure to remember to round the corners of your pattern paper. I had to straighten up one on a couple of corners on my booklet. So round the corners, 2 corners on the right side of your pattern paper. ink in those right quick. And I will glue it down, and then I'll also glue another little piece to the left side. For closure, I'm wrapping string around the little booklet and tying it in the front. So on the back side, I'm going to put down just a little bit of paper over it, to a scrap, a long length or a square. You just need something on the back to hold it down. So I am just taking some of my scraps, and I'm just going to cut it to fit on the back and cover the string to secure it. And tie it on the front into a bow where I want it to lay, and then I will secure it on the back with a piece of scrap paper. For page sets 1 and 3, we create a photo sleeve. So these are cut down to 5 3/4 inches wide by 5 inches tall. You want to make it a little bit shorter so that it doesn't go into the hinge that we will add later. So go ahead and round your corners on the bottom edge. So that slides in. And I'm showing you now how to do one. This is for page set 1. We'll also make one later for page set 3. So you can cut them both out now and then just set it aside. So then go ahead and cut your pattern paper to fit. So this should be about 4 7/8 inches tall by 5 1/2 inches, 5 5/8 inches wide. So go ahead and cut that, your pattern paper. And to create a little tab, I cut a 1-inch piece of scrap cardstock, about a 1-inch by 1-inch square, and rounded 2 corners, and then just glue that onto this sleeve so that it will just barely stick out the edge. And attach this on before I add the pattern paper. So let me grab the glue and just add a little bit of glue on the bottom edge of what you want to stick down onto the photo sleeve mat. So I'm just going to stick that down and probably letting it stick out about about 3/4 of an inch, maybe 7/8 of an inch, because it can slide in. So then let that dry, burnish it, and then go ahead and add your papers. And I ended up rounding up all 4 corners of my photo sleeve mat and also the pattern paper. So I'm just making sure that it fits in the way I want it to. And then I'm going to attach the pattern paper down. And also you want to cut a little scrap of paper to fit your tab, and round the two corners on that, and also glue those down. And I'm going to glue that on, I think it'd be best to glue it on before you do the main pattern paper. And that concludes video tutorial number 3. We have completely finished decorating page set number 1. So in video 4 we will start working on page set number 2. So in this one we have the front done. We have our little pop-up in the center with it decorated. We have the little photo mat. We have our photo mat that goes in the sleeve with a tab. This folds down, then you flip it over. I always forget that it just flips over, because when it's on the hinge you just flip it over. We have our pocket with our little booklet, a photo mat, and a Santa cut apart, and then this opens up with a pop-up, a frame, and the Dear Santa pocket. So check back later for video number 4. Thanks. Bye-bye.